because Rosaria is conducting interviews in virtual learning environments in Finland at the moment, and in the next months we'll develop a case study also to other realities.
Okay, perfect. So, as Francesco was said, introducing digital technologies within a space, so virtual learning spaces, but there are different kind of space that can have the same label, so the label learning space. They can have formal or informal nature and are characterized by the action and the interaction among different actors that cooperate between them, but also share knowledge, share learning, and have different capabilities, and they could promote cognitive processes and influence all the dynamics within the space. So within the space, there are not only actors, but also a tangible and intangible infrastructure that generate innovation, value creation, and capacity. So within this context, so within a space, we should know how to include and how to adopt the digital technologies. So what technologies to adopt, what is the best for the result, for example, of the space, for the learning objective, but also for the actors that are involved and for all the dimensions that are included in this space. But first of all, we should understand what is a learning space, what declination could have this label. First of all, it could be a platform, so a totally virtual learning space, like, for example, Moodle or Slack, another kind of digital platform. Also, for example, Google, Zoom, and so on. But also they could be spaces, for example, the educational learning space, but also a co-working platform, a collaborative space, an innovation lab, as Francesco was saying earlier, and also those spaces that are created for the community. For example, just yesterday, I visited a space. I'm currently in Finland running my research. So I visited a space, and it was a learning space, and they're trying to adopt the right technologies that are different kind of technologies for the different age that cooperate between the space. So their problem, the barrier for the introduction of the technologies within that space were the different ages of the people included within the lab. So this could be a barrier. There are different kind of learning space, but with my research, I try to define the dimension that could be the same in all the learning space definition. So could be the same, for example, for an educational learning space. We can find the same dimension in a co-working space, but also in an organizational space. So different dimension that can support all the knowledge sharing and all the learning dynamics, but at the same time that should give importance and introduce the technologies, help to manage the introduction of the technologies. So this is a framework that I derived after my research theory, literature review. So the first two dimensions are learning space value proposition and learning space impact here. Value proposition and impact are linked between them, because first, when we created a space, or when we create a learning space, we should know how to, what we want from this learning space. For example, if we want to obtain an innovative result, a social result, or maybe in the educational learning space, just student learning, student achievement, and so on. So first, we had to identify the distinctive aim and the reason why we decided to develop a learning space. And then at the end of the whole process, we should know how to measure the impact of those spaces. So understand also what are the dimensions of the infrastructure and of the governance that allow us to achieve the impact and the result that we wanted to achieve, to obtain at the end of the process. So a learning space can determine different results and are all in relation to the objectives that we defined. For example, the development and the acquisition of competencies, the development, for example, for the learning space of innovative capacity, the learning research, the knowledge management, and so on. For example, also social results and so on, social impact for the whole community, a space for the whole community. But in order to achieve those impacts and those results, it's important that all the dimensions that are interrelated between them can support the process. So the other important dimension that is the central point of the whole process is the learning space infrastructure. Learning space infrastructure are all the tangible and intangible tools and infrastructural dimensions that characterize those learning spaces. I identified 5 different kind of infrastructural dimension. The first one is the learning context. Learning context is where all the knowledge sharing and learning dynamics happen. It could be so physical, hybrid, virtual space, the platform, the co-working space. So any space, physical, real, or virtual, where learning happens, where knowledge sharing and knowledge management happens. And it supports and activates all the innovation dynamics and the learning dynamics. It's important to understand that if we find ourselves in a physical space, all the furniture, all the components of the furniture must facilitate the introduction of the technologies in this case. For example, we can find in a space that is flexible, friendly, that has also a friendly climate, where we can move all the furniture and we can adapt the furniture to the introduction of the technologies. But if we are, for example, in a platform, we can choose the right component, the right graphical tools to involve and also engage people that are looking at our platform. So it's important to understand how to create the right context that can be physical or virtual, but is the right context for the introduction of the technologies that support the introduction of the technologies, and at the same time, it also supports the knowledge and learning dynamics. Then we have the actors' interaction. First, we should understand that within a learning space, there could be different kind of actors, different kind of partnership, different kind of roles of people that are included within a learning space. We can have the teachers, but we can have also the mentors, the students, but also people that just want to participate to some courses or to different kind of activities that are organized within a space. So there are different kind of actors that should have different targets, that should have different kind of competencies and aim and reason why they want to be included in those learning spaces. It's important to understand the level and also the kind of relationship that they build and they develop within a space. So it's important to understand the system of interaction between all the external and internal actors. So external actors could be, for example, the partnership, and internal actors, all the people participating to the space. And all the relationship and the interaction within a learning space are important, and they also can be supported by the digital technologies. For example, just WhatsApp also could help people to be in contact, so to communicate within a space. So the basic technologies, but also the simulation, so the immersive reality, but the artificial intelligence that nowadays is one of the most innovative and advanced technologies. So different kind of technologies can support the actor interaction, the communication, but also the development of relationships. So it's important to choose the right technologies and also to know how we want that people cooperate within our space. If we want to foster a collaborative environment, an environment where people feel themselves like a community that know how to interact, it's important to choose the right technologies that enhance and foster these processes and those interactions. But the learning context and the actors' interaction are not the only infrastructural dimensions that are important to sustain the knowledge sharing and the learning dynamics, because we have also other two kind of dimensions that are learning methods and culture and technological resources. So learning methods and culture are all the kind of culture that we can find within a space. For example, if we find ourselves in a friendly environment, in a motivating and engaging environment, it's important, and we can also find the best way to integrate the technologies. Then we can also choose between different methods, learning methods that can support the introduction of technologies. For example, we can have the gamification, the simulation methods, the metaverse. So all the kind of technologies that are right for creating a friendly culture. Another kind of culture that we can find within a learning space is the knowledge management culture. So people that allowing themselves and are willing to share their knowledge. So they can share tacit knowledge with people they cooperate with, but also that are willing to talk with people, to share their knowledge, and to motivate and engage other people in their interaction. And then we have the technological resources, that is the central point of the whole activity. Technological resources are all the combination of tools, but also infrastructure, software, kind of hardware, and so on, that contribute to the realization of the whole learning process and knowledge sharing and knowledge dynamics. We can have different tools for different aims of our space, but it's important to know what are the right technologies that we can use for achieving the right our objective. And another important thing is that our technologies, our technological infrastructure is well functioning, is stable, and so on. But another important thing to say is that people that use the technological resources should have the right digital competencies, but also the right competencies at a cultural level, interactional level, that could be used and useful to use that kind of technologies. For example, if we decided to engage people in simulation activities or gamification activities that use advanced digital technologies, it's important that they have the right digital maturity and also the right digital competencies to understand the functioning of the advanced technologies and also know how to use. So it's not important what kind of technologies introduce and implement within a space, but the reason why we introduced it, and also the way in which these technologies could help us to achieve our objectives, but also can help us to foster the whole learning process and knowledge dynamics. But at the end, we have also another important dimension that support all the infrastructural and value proposition and impact dimension, that is the learning space governance, because the whole process should be followed by a plan that plan, implement, and control all the process necessary. In this case, we can think about, for example, the plan, do, check, act. So we should know how to plan the activities within a space, how to implement all the activities and the processes, how to control them, but also how to meet at the end our results. So at the end, how to evaluate and to monitor the result and the impact that we want to achieve. We can have different methods to measure our result, and this is also different for each kind of different learning space. For example, if we are in an innovation lab, at the end we want to measure our innovative product. So how much, for example, innovation are produced after a process in our learning space, how much innovation capacity we can generate within our organization, for example, and so on. Or if we are in an educational learning space or in a training learning space, so in an organizational learning space for the training, at the end we want to measure the learner's achievement. So it's important to understand what kind of measurement tool we want to implement and to employ in order to achieve our result and to know what are the impact that we want to obtain at the end. So now, after just fast and check of all the dimensions that could characterize a learning space, I would open a discussion about those learning space. So first of all, if you think that learning spaces may enhance digital transformation. So if we know how to implement digital technologies in a space, could be an important point to enhance and help the digital transformation process. But also, what are the dimensions that are most important in a learning space? We have different dimensions here, but maybe depending on the kind of learning space that we have, for example, if we have a platform, different kind of dimension could be more important, and other kind of dimension could be less important. And then, what technologies do you usually implement within a learning space, and how? And when you implement technologies in a learning space, you think about all the dimensions that could be useful in support of the integration and the adoption.
First of all, thank you both.
Thank you
for your presentation. It's really, really interesting. There is someone that had some question or want to participate.
I found some similarities with the last, I think, that came out from the two interventions. I see that one thing that hit me in a particular way is that to understand needs before acting and using tools or spaces or whatever. No, I think it's more important. As Francesco was giving in the slide, is falling in love with the problem. Just and also the problem can be also a need, and that's made me think very much about thinking it over before acting. And but I want to have a question. Okay, when we are talking spaces and dimensions, we are talking about also, of course, not only and not exclusively physical, but also virtual, of course, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Problems in using them, but I see that's very important. And always, why I made the questions, I was looking at you to the questions, and always, and also dimensions. I thought, how big could be a room? I just translated all to physical. I had very much problems in thinking in virtual. Even if we're working in another project, building a platform for social enterprises to interact between them. But, it's not mine.
Yes. No, it's true. It's true, because for virtual learning space, it's more difficult, but it could be translated. For example, when we talk about a platform, Google Scholar and so on, we can introduce some extension, maybe some tools, some survey during the lesson, during the lecture, that could involve and could also engage people. And this could be, for example, the integration of the technologies and a use of the technologies that could involve people more, motivate people more. This is an example of the graphical tools. For example, the interface of a platform, the interface of a website, the interface of all the tools that we decided to use could be colorful, motivating, and could make people more engaged to the lesson. This could be some example. Or also the room that we can create with Google Meet. We can create different rooms of few people that can cooperate between them, that can talk between them, and then present the result of their discussion at the end of a bigger meeting, in a bigger meeting with more people. And this could be helpful, for example, to foster relationship and interaction between actors.
Of course, you are talking about sorry, Andrea.
No, please.
About virtual rooms. I mean, I see.
Yes.
I just saw, after using Google Meet for about 3 years now, that there is activities. You know, you could create rooms and stuff. I mean, I participated in many projects with that. You know, I admit my big ignorance and not knowing about it, but you know, yeah. Still, I was thinking about rooms, physical rooms.
I think, if I can just say something, I think that this is exactly the problem that Francesco introduced here. The need to well understand the skills of each of the people before using the new tools, the new digital tools. From your point of view, it's first of all, it's important to have a sort of technological alphabetization of user to these new tools. So before learning with this new tool, we need
to understand how to use these tools, but also if they are the right tools for the culture of people. Maybe there are some barriers for the use of these tools, because people maybe don't accept to use that kind of tool. So it's better maybe to start with some basic tools, and then when people find themselves more engaged with a kind of basic tool, we can also add other kind of tools that are not so basic. So it depends on the people that are involved. And it's important first, I think, technological alphabetization and maybe the basic competence to start. And then to understand what kind of advanced competence could be used, could be trained, taught.